Chapter 5 Evil in the Garden. Unfortunately, life in the real world has its own strength to depress even the most enlightened soul. When everything was at its most magical, peaceful time, evil struck. There had been 12 chickens acquired for free that joined the 12 ducks in the garden. The garden had a pool, and throughout the day and night the ducks would be party ducks. It was amusing to hear their joy, and laughter could be heard echoing throughout the night. There was a predator that must have also heard the joy and laughter. One morning, Crystal set about to do the chores of caring for the animals. First was the turkeys. Only 4 turkeys could be seen from the 5 that should have been present. Upon inspection, in the corner of the yard, there lay a female turkey, with her head pulled through the fence, half decapitated. This was most disheartening, but the turkeys had only been around a few weeks and weren't particularly personable. This was the financial loss of a breeder and most saddening, frightening death. Next was the poultry. A few ducks swam around the pool, but the garden was quiet. Crystal approached the chicken-duck condo to find a scene of pure horror. The head rooster, Nigel, lay dead on his side, red blood staining his white feathers. Blood smeared the walls, and one of the Biscotti's sisters appeared to be dead facing the wall. Upon inspection, she was alive. She had survived the massacre. Only 8 ducks were in the garden to be seen. It was hoped some of the chickens and ducks had been able to get away and were hiding elsewhere on the farm. Crystal grabbed Biscotti and tucked her in her housecoat. She frantically started searching, crying out, "Ducks! Ducks! Chickens! Opal? Anybody?" Fighting back tears, she tried to clear her mind to piece together what had happened. After all, she was a trapper, and this is exactly what trappers do. Snow hadn't fallen yet, so there were no tracks to be seen. Back at the turkey pen, it was reasoned whatever it was had tried to drag the turkey out the north corner of the yard, presumably down the trail. Biscotti still tucked safely in her robe, Crystal headed down the trail to discover a duck, wing, and feathers. Another death confirmation. Following along the ostrich's pen fence line, the trail opened up to a meadow that is not visible from the farm. It was in this moment Crystal realized she was tracking a predator and had nothing for self-defense but a traumatized chicken in hand. Despite the now known danger, she carried on searching for her chickens and ducks. It was in this treed meadow that a flicker of movement caught Crystal's eye. There it was, a bobcat traveling along leaning fallen trees 20 feet off the ground, headed towards the mountaintop. Having worked as a taxidermist for over a decade, Crystal had mounted over a dozen bobcats, but had never seen one in real life. It was a very grounding experience. However, as it slinked away, 2 more chicken casualties were found and added to the death toll. This is where the cat had been dragging the birds to devour them one by one. A pile of duck feathers and wings confirmed another duck's death. Crystal returned home with her chicken Biscotti under one arm and a dead cookies and cream and her fellow Biscotti sister under the other arm. A heavy darkness fell over the farm. The sound of party ducks was no longer heard as they were locked up at night. The chickens no longer filled the farm with their happy, hopeful presence, always searching for something meaningful. The cats were also kept indoors at night until the predator was caught. They too were at risk. The lower area of the farm surrounding their youngest daughter's box was fenced, and one of the dogs was moved to that pasture to protect her area. Another puppy joined the farm, as it was decided there should be a dog at each corner of the farm to deter predators. His name was Diggity, as it made discipline much more enjoyable. No Diggity, no doubt. Live trap was purchased, and Crystal set about making the perfect bobcat cubby. It had branches surrounding it and created a tunnel alongside the ostrich's fence line where the cat had traveled to enter the farm. It was placed far out at the opening of the meadow to deter the pet cats from getting caught. In the first few days, a skunk was caught. It was quite adorable, so it was decided that a skunk protecting the north end of the property was a desirable thing. Some food was left for it, and the trap was left open. Unfortunately, there was no sign the skunk ever returned. During the time period the trap was getting cleaned and made natural smelling again, the bobcat returned. It ripped the door off the duck house and took all the ducks. Biscotti survived another massacre. She became a chicken kitchen in the evenings and had a lovely space overlooking the sink beside a mirror. It is believed when she looked in the mirror, she thought perhaps her sister was there beside her, as they were almost identical. The trap was reset further in the meadow. A large boulder face became the back wall to set the trap against, and the ground was leveled so there would be no rocking of the trap when that cat came and tested this new cave. Pieces of the last chickens were used as bait, and a turkey wing hung off a branch in front of the opening. Another branch tunnel was created, this time creating a spiky top so the cat could not walk down the hillside on the trap, possibly affecting the trigger. Rather, the bobcat would be forced to walk around to the front of the tunnel and enter the baited new temporary home. Checking the trap in the morning and evening became the new daily routine. Whether the bobcat would be deterred by any lingering skunk scent would be revealed. It was on New Year's Day 2024 that the trap door was shut. Upon inspection, a small bobcat had curled up in the corner with big fearful eyes. While being an incredible experience facing a predator that has done you harm and looking in the eyes of evil, one can't help but be moved with compassion. It was hungry. It was a living being that needed food. The children had been having friends visiting for a sleepover, so they also had this opportunity to see a live bobcat. Crystal and Jerry talked over the fate of the bobcat, while reasoning that yes, this cat was hungry. If it had taken one or two of our poultry, that this may be found less damning. However, this cat had killed far more animals than needed for one cat. It left dead bodies splayed about and hadn't even consumed them. This cat was killing for the sake of killing. The once innocence and fear in its eyes changed to an untamable burning hate. It hissed, growled, and spontaneously attacked anything near the trap. Jerry reminded Crystal of Opal, and the tears welled up again. There had to be justice for the innocents. While many poultry have a wild, untrusting nature, Opal was an exception. He was a gray, silky rooster with an opal comb. He loved humans and he loved love. He was fearless. He would walk up to anybody and try sitting on their feet. Jerry would slide out from under a vehicle and there would be Opal, just enjoying being in a person's presence. His body was never recovered. Crystal personally felt guilty for the loss of an amazing soul because she'd once carried this rooster to her daughter's boxes, asking if they would take it in as a house chicken because it was too sweet to leave in the chicken coop. Crystal tried to keep it in her own room. However, that was the cat's domain, and this bird was small enough, fearless enough, and peaceful enough to be in danger there. He was presumed dead among the many missing. The bobcat could not continue to do this to our community. It was executed and the carcass was barbecued for the dogs on the farm. The dogs refused to eat it. Assuming they recognized the pure evil of this bobcat, the carcass was returned to the fire and turned ash for the garden. Farm life slowly returned to its normal, happy pace, and the memory of party ducks in the night and clucking chickens throughout the day became a faint memory. Biscotti slowly healed her emotional wounds, just as Chuck had done after the dog attack, and slowly returned to their normal, happy selves. A Lady Amherst pheasant was acquired to keep Biscotti company. Sometimes there would be periods of peace for months at a time. Then she would turn and get vicious. After periods of solitary living, she was always agreeable to living with him again peacefully. An experiment began. If living in a garden paradise could heal trauma. Chapter 6.